And a special thank you to Ruben, right, for reviewing that South Park episode, even though it was probably a tough watch for you.
Oh, the South Park. You know what? That got us a lot of hits, but people seem to love South Park.
So you're the one who recommended it.
Yes.
Yes, I am the one.
So I'll never talk to you again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today we have return guest Salvador Aguilar. Salvador, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me again.
Now, you teach at Lawndale High School, and what do you teach? What subject?
This is my third year at Lawndale, and I teach social science.
Right.
Currently, I'm teaching AP history, world history, and world history.
Wow,
Yes.
it's a big load.
Very nice, and congratulations, you recently got married.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much, Ruben. I got married 2 weeks ago to my girlfriend from high school.
High school
Wonderful.
sweetheart.
Well,
Yes.
today is, I think, our third installment of story time, where we just sit around and we talk about something in our past involving the classroom as teachers. Now, I do want to say this. I do not recommend telling stories. We've talked about this in the past. I'm not sure if I differ slightly on this with Jacob, but maybe not. But I don't recommend telling stories to your students. I believe it's a time waster. However, when the teachers get together, oh, there's nothing better than to hear each other tell their stories about a problem child or about a gifted kid or an event that happened in class. So, Salvador, I want to start with you. What do you want to tell us? Inspire us, discourage us, whatever you have. What would you like to say to us today in Pod and Deliver?
Well, I guess I would like to share a lighthearted story, a funny story.
Okay.
My first year of teaching, it was my first year of teaching at Lawndale High School, my first year teaching in general, apart from my student teaching. Um, I had used Pear Deck for the first time. I don't know if you're familiar with Pear Deck. Yes, I was using it, and I was gonna give students a constructive response where I give the students a prompt. I have it scaffold where they write a thesis, they provide evidence, and then analyze their evidence, and then at the end they combine it for a paragraph. Well, for 5 paragraphs, I say. But the point is, I was gonna have them do an activity where they can practice identifying claims and opinions with the parody before we got into the constructive response. So their prompt was to create well, to make a claim, right, of where the best hamburger is made. And we went through Paradic, and as you know, Paradic, they're interactive slides where students get to respond. So first and foremost, I had students as a warm up ask, what's the difference between a claim and an opinion, right? And there was just a little slides like that. But point is, when it came to the students to practice their claims and stuff, practice the evidence, well, because I use the thing T, like thesis, evidence, analysis, right? So I scaffolded it in a sense where they could bring it all together at the end of the pair deck. But when I had them write their evidence, I believe it was on the pair deck about the best hamburger. One student, and I wasn't familiar with pair deck because like I said, it was my first year teaching. One student wrote, "Oh, I like my hamburgers like the Mister, nice and thick." I was compared to a courageous woman. And it was so unexpected that I kind of laughed. I know that was probably bad teaching practices right in the moment, but I laughed because it caught me so off guard. And I'm gonna fast forward a bit, right? After, I just like, oh, we shouldn't be writing inappropriate things in the pair deck, right? I went to a workshop. My school does workshops where you can learn digital tools, and I learned how to use pair deck. And they told me you can go back in pair deck and view who wrote what, right? It looked like a roster. So then one day, like months later, it was all forgotten already. Obviously, the students have forgotten about it. But one day I just kind of start laughing again, and I say, "Remember a month ago when we did that hamburger pair deck?" And all the class started laughing because obviously it would happen the response. But there was one student who got super quiet, and I was like, "I now know who wrote that." Just looking at that student, everyone is laughing. The whole class is laughing, but that one student looked like he had just seen a ghost. So it was really funny. yeah, I guess
It's great when you get them though,
moral of
when
the
they don't
story.
like they think they got one on you in a way, but then when you
Yeah,
get them, or if you just stare at them, you
yeah,
don't have to say their name. You don't have to say. That's all you have to do.
It's so
yes. So,
funny how you were worried that you might have done the wrong thing by laughing. I mean, I would be laughing and commenting and thanking the student for making me laugh. That's just, I guess it's how you approach, but that's good. That's good. It's funny.
Very good.
Okay.
yeah, what was? Oh, sorry.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
tell me.
No,
What
I
were
was
you?
gonna say more of the story is that like I guess the best thing about teaching is like those interactions, right? Like no day
Yeah.
is boring, and every day is gonna be extremely different.
Yes. Very
Very good.
good.
Okay. Now, Jacob, what about you? What would you like to say?
Well,
We've talked about things that are funny, pretty dark. There was a time in our story time where we almost repeated a story when I caught you. We
yeah,
won't.
I don't think this is a repeat. I'm getting a little older, Sal, just so you
I
know.
actually had to think that through too. Have I told this story before? But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you got
I don't
for us,
think I've
Jacob?
shared this one before. This one was my first teaching experience at Soledad Enrichment Action, and actually, Ruben, you might have been there for a couple of these, but it's one story. But I mean, there's a couple of short ones to get to the big one. So there was a student I had who was a part of the Bloods, big student, tall student. And when I first met him, he was kind of a little eerie. He would sit in the corner and sing the Brady Bunch song. Here's the story, and he would just sing it. Do you remember this, Ruben? Um, I'll just say his name was Tony. Okay, and so Tony would do that, and it's kind of like eerie and big guy. And then the first day I ever met him, though, he came up to me right to my face and he said, "I'm gonna blow up your car." And I'm like, oh, I think I need to take this seriously. But I said, okay, man. And then, I just talked to him and he just seemed to calm down. He was nice to me after that. His grandmother would bring me food and it was like, okay, he was just a little tough exterior. Um, and then actually later on in life, he goes to prison because he shoots at a car in front of the school and it ricochets and it hits a teacher in the second floor of a library, back of the head. Didn't kill the teacher, but put him out for about a year. And he goes to prison for about 10 years, I believe. But anyway, the story I want to share is that one day I get to school and a new student's coming in and he's, enrolling and I see him and I knew something was different. He was wearing brown. And I said, oh, he's not wearing, he shouldn't be wearing brown. You should wear your colors at that time. And so I went to my assistant. I said, you know what? I don't think he belongs here. He's not a blood. So I told my assistant to go take him. He was an older man, like 80 years old, to go take him to his house. I said, don't just take him to his house, walk him to the door, make sure he gets into the home. And while I'm telling this, this Tony student who's a blood takes off out of my room. And I go, oh no, it's coming. He's gonna get his buddies. They're gonna do something to this guy. So I hurry this assistant teacher out the door. They get into the car and they take off. I'm not kidding you. About 20 seconds later, a car full of bloods come in and Tony's in the car and they're looking for him. And I thought so. I thought, wow, if just 20 seconds earlier, who knows what would have happened there? They would have killed him or beat him up or whatever they were going to do to him. And then my assistant was safe and they didn't follow him. They didn't know where they went. But the point is that a pretty dangerous area. I'm not sure there's any moral to it, but I'm so glad I don't work in that area anymore, which is right in the middle of South Central. Right after the riots, Ruben and I worked in this area. But anyway, Ruben, that was just kind of reminds me how grateful I am that I'm in Southgate now. But I, it did sadden me because this young man, ended up going to prison. But there you go.
Gosh, I was gonna tell a different story, but now you reminded me of a story I hope I haven't shared before on this, but you remind me if I did. I used to also work, as you mentioned, at SEA. And so for those of you who don't know, SEA, Soledad Enrichment Action, was an alternative education program in which students who could not make it in the traditional school setting, often because of gangs, perhaps a female student got pregnant, she couldn't keep going to the traditional school, expulsions. So you had a rough population, good percentage of the students. were at risk, as we would call it. So we might edit this out because if I've shared this, then, you know, oh boy. But when I worked at Saya Compton, so cool, I could audible the story I was going to tell. We'll do it for the next time. When I worked at Saya Compton, Cherry Street, because there were several Saya Comptons, so Cherry Street, that should tell you there is a gang called Fruit. Maybe I shouldn't say, but Fruit Town. What are you going to do? It's in the sheriff's department notifications that it's a reality. It's Fruit Town. We're in Cherry Street. What does that tell you, right? But there are also Mexican gangs, and everybody hated each other. All the gangs hated each other. So one time, I'm sitting at my desk. This story is a little different than yours, Sal. Not as funny, this one.
That was all lighthearted. We're all dark.
We got dark. In a way, this is funny. I'm sitting by my desk, and we were at it was unusual because our particular site was in a church, and a church basement. And so if you can imagine a parking lot, going through the door, down the steps in the basement, my desk was right next to the kind of the window where I could look up and you could see the feet of people and the cars, right? So one morning I'm at my desk, grading papers, my red pen, and I hear a car pull up, a kid come out of the car, going towards the door, another car pull up. A kid gets out of now I don't see the kid. I just know that another car pulled up. Somebody got out, pulls a gun on the student. And you never forget his name. I'll say his name, Carlos Moncada.
Uh-oh.
Points it was 6 feet away, maybe, and unloads his gun on the student. 6 bullets. Pow, pow, 6 feet away.
How far were you? You're 6 feet away?
I'm right there. I'm next to the window.
You never shared the story.
Oh, I haven't shared this. Okay.
No.
And boy, things got very dark. I'm sorry, Sal. I hope you're back with us one day.
You better be grateful to your position right now, mister.
But it's not as dark as it sounds, because you know how many times he hit my student?
0. They're the worst shots.
0.
Yeah.
And I learned then that gang members are bad shots, and you only read about the ones that hit, but there's a lot of misses. And Carlos walks down the steps. Now back then there was this we gave them, I forget what you call them, packets. It's the worst kind of teaching possible. Right. There are a lot of
work packets you
make as you go back and you think through these things. I would have definitely changed it up. I was a TA, by the way, but it doesn't matter. TA, then I became a teacher. I would shift the teaching strategy. But anyway, they would get the work packets from their name. He went through the M's, pulled out his Moncada. He took out his packet, went to his desk, takes out his pen, and starts writing. Like nothing happened. And I walk up to him. Carlos, are you okay? And he goes, what do you mean? That guy just shot at you. He didn't, you're all right? Oh, yeah. Oh, he goes, that bullshit? Nah, that's whatever.
Wow.
I said, did you see who did it? He goes, oh, yeah, I see who did it. Oh, I can call the cops. Oh, no. Don't call the cops. No, I'm good.
Take care of it.
He didn't even say that. But then, once I realized nothing was going to happen, there are no cops going to be called. There are no license plates. Nothing was going to get done. Then my curiosity set in, and I just said, hey, Carlos, you know who did it, huh? And he goes, yes. And I said, just curious, you're going to take care of that? Is that what you're thinking? And he says, oh, yeah. And he went back to work. And yeah, that's a day in the life at Saya.
Wow. That's I could imagine, very impactful story. Kind of
Ooh,
reminds me. Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead,
oh,
Ruben.
please, please.
Kind of reminds me of a little incident that I had. It wasn't necessarily at work, but I was coming home from work. I was on Imperial and Alameda Street, just to situate where this kind of is going, right? Imperial and Alameda. The border between Watts and Linwood. And there was a lot of traffic, and there was some person who was trying to merge into my lane. So in order to not get hit, I kind of opened up, and then the car kept beeping at me. And as the car was beeping at me, when I beat back, kind of that whole like testosterone thing, like, well, you beep at me, I'm gonna beep at you back, right? And this guy just kept throwing all these, like, I could see hand signs, and when I put down my window and said, well, what's your problem, right? And
Ooh,
then he reaches into his pocket. I was like, oh shoot, that's it. Say Yamaba, I would say, right? I was like, oh, that's it. This is the day, I guess. But I just kept seeing like gesturing the hand in the pocket. So then we kind of bounced back and forth, and I went my own way home. And I told a colleague the next day, Miss Fine. Shout out to Miss Fine. And she looked so surprised and was like, "Are you okay? This, and that." Blah, blah. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, it just happened." Kind of
yeah.
similar, right? We're like, "Oh, these things kind of just happen sometimes."
Yeah. You know, the the thing with the story I shared with the gun going off, it's so interesting because for months after that, I would be startled when the door would slam or um, loud noises would startle me. And I mean, those areas that we're talking about, the area that you mentioned, where Jake worked in South Central, Compton, this is the kind of lifestyle some students, obviously live with. And we can be empathetic now to their traumas, maybe that they've witnessed. But I remember at the time I was going to Long Beach State, and I took a class. I was taking a class on dreams, and we had to write out our dreams. And it's so funny because you're not objective about yourself and your dreams. Only others can analyze and just think. But a lot of my dreams had to do with guns and somebody pointing at me, somebody shot me, somebody, But I didn't make the connection at all. My professor said, "Where do you work?" And I said, "I'm a teacher." He said, "Where?" "In Compton." And I told him my situation, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, "You need to leave. You need to get out of that environment." And I did. So. Fun times, everybody. Any last word from anybody?
I guess one final thing I want to say is thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity, and a special thank you to Ruben, right, for reviewing that South Park episode, even though it was probably a tough watch for you.
Oh, the South Park. You know what? That got us a lot of hits, but people seem to love South Park.
Oh, so you're the one who recommended it.
Yes.
Yes, I am the one.
So I'll never talk to you again. No,
All
you
right.
know what? Here's the problem is that people have taken this personally. South Park is very meaningful to people, and they don't like when you. I like South Park. I mentioned that in the video. I just didn't like this episode, and boy, some people gave it to us in the comments.
I look at
So
the comments. I'm gonna check those out.
I saw one comment was deleted, I think. Now we didn't do that.
Okay. I didn't delete the comment. So you might not see the comments anymore, but there was somebody who was very salty, but I didn't delete it. I don't delete anything. I don't think I've ever deleted a comment on the channel before, and we've had a couple of nasty ones. Thank you, Sal, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.